Okay, so once more, good morning. Just like the introduction, so much has been discussed here, and I'm really overwhelmed the way Python has actually gone. The last time I attended the PyCon was in 2012 at Silicon Valley, and within that 6 or 7 years, so much has actually happened. So I'm going to say what we are trying to do, because all these nice things, some people are not going to benefit from them. Like Meg said this morning, he said we need to be able to empower everybody, child, adult, from all diverse culture and geographical background with data structure and see what the problem they can solve. This is quite interesting. And as I go on this talk, you are going to see that there was an effort to do so in the past, but it didn't succeed. So my talk is on how this particular using QPython smartphone will help us in accomplishing that. So first I will just thank the Education Summit Committee for accepting my abstract. Then I thank the organizers of PyCon, then the software, the Python Software Foundation for the invitation, and of course the funding, because without it, I wouldn't be here now. I have been an active member of the Python community, and as I said, I was at PyCon 2012 at Silicon Valley, and okay, my talks are there. The first thing I want to say is why computational approaches. I don't need to explain that to an audience like this, because people, it is now established today that we lead computational physics. While in developing world, computational physics is restricted to maybe university programs. Here, I hear that high grades are already taking computational physics and learning programming. This is overwhelming. So, but there's one aspect I want to add. I'm not going to go into the details of why we lead computational physics and all that, but there's an aspect that is really motivating me here. Today, in research, what we do is that we have so many numerical software for solving diverse problems. My area, I'm a condensed matter physicist, so I work on strongly correlated systems. And in that place, we have all kinds of software today. And from solving things like density functional theory, dynamic midfield theories, they are all there. And this software, when new postgraduates they come in, you want to introduce them to some of this software. If you introduce them, fine enough, they will work with it. But then they need to understand the software for them to be able to manipulate it to suit their own personal problem, isn't it? That is it. So, and there are so many of these software now that are now implemented in Python. I just gave an example of this one that was published recently. It's a very good software, efficient Python implementation of the continuous time hybridization and expansion quantum impurity solver. It's a very good one. Then there's this Trios. Of course, that one comes both in Python and in C++. Okay, so the student, they need to understand this software, at least the programming language of this software, for them to be able to manipulate them. Then, of course, one thing we also do is that you have a software in another language. If you want to bring it to Python, which is open and open source and free, you can also do that, like this particular APAC, which is a Fortran package. Very beautiful for solving eigenvalue and eigenvector problem, but today they have already imported it into SciPy. So these are some of the reasons why we have to do computational physics. By and large, we know that computer and computer-based activities have pervaded our teaching learning process, as well as research, so much that in addition to theory and experiment, as we all know now, they now constitute a third pillar in science and engineering. Now, but how do we do this? That is a big question. the problem, the question has been answered here by different speakers. The first thing is the desire to ease the learner into programming and to give them the opportunity to develop a conceptual model of what a program is and what it does. Okay, but what is the strategy to achieve this computational physics? The first thing is accessibility to computing device, especially in developing countries. Here, you have a computer science lab or a computational physics program. You have a computer lab, because if you are taking a computational physics class for 3 hours, you need to be able to have an equivalent 3 hours in the computer lab. In 2008, I attended the conference organized by the American physics teacher at Branch University in Boston. And at that point, there were about 5 universities that were offering computational physics in the US. I was told then. I don't know if that has increased. Meaning that all those universities, they have computer lab. But this is not the case with those developing countries. You discover that I was teaching computational physics, and the only lab I have access to was the computer lab. So I have to share with them. For a computer science lab that has just one lab, from 100 level to 400 level, it was not easy for me to get in computer time. So this was one of the problems I faced for so many years. Then, this idea of using the QPython came in as a version of Python in Android. And so, when I saw it, of course, it's something you download the entire QPython into your smartphone. And once you have done that, you can now begin to use it anywhere, anyhow, and anytime. And that is the beauty of what we are talking about. And I hope with that, Dr. Shas, you would talk about taking the Python everywhere. So I see that maybe you also help us in writing a good book on QPython so that you can spread the message everywhere. Now, I just make sure that, well, there's an attempt in the past to actually have people have access to the computer. This was what we call the one laptop per child program. It started in 2002 when Professor Nicholas Negropanto of MIT, he went to Cambodia, a small village, and he was able to see that by letting these young kids there have access to connected computer, they were able to do wonderful things. So he came back to MIT and told them that, look, if we can I'm just summarizing, make the entire world that every child should have access to a laptop, then we won't believe the kind of potential they will have, and we can't even imagine what kind of problem they are going to solve. So the program kicked off. Many governments actually keyed into it. Unfortunately, the project failed. And one of the reasons, apart from many problems, one of the reasons is that they actually produce rugged computers at a very cheap rate. But unfortunately, they did not include maintenance and repairs of this computer when they were planning. So as the computer, they got bad, the kids, they could not repair them. And this became a very serious challenge. Now, the question is, will QPython suffer the same fate? And my answer is boldly no, because it is not going to be government-sponsored. Smartphones are acquired, maintained, repaired by who? By the individuals. And we're already having an increasing global penetration of smartphones into our homes. So smartphone belongs to the individual. So we are not going to have issues of repair and all that as we have with the one laptop per kid. Of course, this is just a statistic showing that in Africa, the numbers of smartphones are growing. The reason is this. With $20, I can get a smartphone in Africa. With $20, I can get a smartphone in Africa, a good one. And with that one, I can install my QPython. That is the beauty of it, which is not the same as your laptop. So, our goal is to introduce them into remarkable QPython computing capabilities in smartphones. But how do we do it? The philosophy is simple. We want to be able to guide the learners, the students and the learners such that, of course, that is what we will be doing, such that the transition from QPython to Python is straightforward. So once you are able to learn whatever you want to learn in QPython, if you have a laptop or any other computer device, it is straightforward. Then, but how are we doing this? Still on the philosophy, we tell you how to install the QPython. Yes, we'll be having issues with this. First, we started with QPython 2.72. Unfortunately, it does not come with a default indentation. So you have to start teaching your student how to use the tab and all that, and it was not funny. Good enough, we now have higher version, 2.715. That one comes with a natural indentation. That one is for education. So the problem, in fact, it has all the functionality, many of the functionalities as your normal Python. So another problem we are having is third-party libraries. In the QPython 2.72, we're able to install Numpy, but this one will be having issues installing Numpy into it, and we have not been able to overcome it. But when I was coming, I was also having the confidence that I will meet somebody who will be able to tell me that, look, this is how you can easily do it. Please, if you can, please advise. Then we teach our students how to use QPython as an advanced calculator. Yes. Before now, students in the, it's not maybe in your, what you call your high school here, they were not allowed to use calculators for some years, but I think for about 4 or 5 years now, they now use calculator. But we are now telling them that, look, your calculator is almost the same size as your smartphone, and you can actually use your smartphone as an advanced calculator. It can do much more than that. Then, basically, where we come in is this QPython, using it as for elementary programming. First, we were able to let our students know the difference between Python 2 version and Python 3. Then we said about the problem with third-party libraries and, of course, the Numpy issue I mentioned. Now, when we teach, what do we let our students know? The difference between smartphones and computer, then we give them the overview, of course, of Python in Android emulators. When we started, of course, in a class, some students will have laptops. So I said, no, it's going to create problem for me. Because one of the things why let me just make sure, why I prefer this QPython is that before, when I teach my students, sending assignment is always difficult. It's not like here where the internet is free and all that, okay? Sending assignment is easy. It's difficult. But with the QPython now, because with very little amount of money, you can get your phones connected. So with the QPython, what we are doing now, my student can send the assignment to me easily. So when I have started this, some students sticking with their laptops, okay, no, I want to teach you QPython. So what we did is that for such students, we use the Android emulators. We install the Android emulators into their handsets so that they can still work with QPython. Now we teach them the interpreter, of course, the difference between the interpreter, the QPython console, the editor, the syntax, and the various statements, Python variables. These are the key things you want to learn in any Python language. So the important thing here is that of being for science and engineering, the model we require is the math model. That is what we use. So most of the teachings we have been doing is based on this math model and how to use it to solve different problems. So we have the control statement, we have the functions, the data structures, and of course the class. But even as simple as this, I started a project which we have done before with Python, before I introduced QPython, and that is how to use the QPython to be able to take an inventory of a lab. Like you have a lab and you have various equipments. The ones for mechanics, the one for electricity, they were all there in the inventory. So when you go to the small app, you say, what is your name? I'm this. What do you want? Okay, I want this instrument. Then you say, well, this instrument is available. These are the numbers that are available, and you can find it in so and so shapes. So with this simple thing, our students over the years are able to repeat this simple project. Then another thing, okay, the focus on the math model, as I said before, we encourage our students to apply their QPython skills to Python codes. Like when, okay, I've taught you QPython now, but there's a difference between using the QPython and the Python. For example, when we say solve quadratic equation, I'm just taking this simple example. We use Numpy, and when we use Numpy, we use the poly1D function. The poly1D function is a natural thing in Numpy. It will give you the function. So, but it's not there in Matplotlib, in the math module. So how do we do this? We now ask the student, go and find that. And from there, they were able to see after some time that they can use the lambda expression, which is for arbitrary function. So without Numpy now, they're able to solve problems, which of course they used to use just Numpy. They find a way now that they can now use the Matplotlib to solve them. So the things we do, because it's for science and engineering, we solve things like linear equation, interpolations, and we also look at ordinary differential equation with Roche-Kutter, fourth order method. What we do here is this. There is a way here. For us to really motivate the student, there's what I call the paper and pen approach. What is the paper and pen approach? I allow the student to first solve this thing manually, so that they see the way the computer works. Sometimes you see a problem that will take you 3-4 pages, but after developing a code with a touch of your keyboard or your touch of your smartphone now, you see that you can solve the problem. So the student, they really are able to appreciate what programming is all about. So these are some of the things we have solved with what? With QPython in our smartphone. And all this, you can solve them with just the math model. So what is the outlook here? The outlook is we want a stable version of QPython with easy means to install scientific third-party libraries like Numpy, SciPy, SymPy, and Matplotlib. They also want a situation if we can even add the visual Python, because I miss that a lot. When I used to teach with Python, and one of the things I used to really inspire my students, I would just say, look at this program, how simple as it is. You go to Visual Python, you just put sphere with your bracket, and you see a sphere come. You put color, and it gives you the color. So it used to be fun. I like what Jeff said. He said he has not seen a program that is radically advancing in such a way that it's possible it's going to take over other programs. And I'm happy that I'm going to do something with Jeff. We've already been discussing even before I came here. We hope we'll be able to move that collaboration because he's also doing something in Africa. Okay, so another thing is that can we have QPython with compiled languages like C++, which is widely used for scientific computation? Can we have various versions like the PyPy and the IOPython? Can we possibly develop very elegant website design to develop various QPython apps on smartphones? I think these are things people have been in, and I want answers. If you can provide answers to me while I'm around, please, I'll be happy. Because one of the things that is motivating this student is that they say, can I develop my own application in my handset? I say yes, because Python is multi-purpose. It is used for every purpose. It's not used only for the teaching of physics, as we are doing here now, but it is multi-purpose. So you can begin to develop your own app, and this actually is outweighing their interest. So as part of the outlook, this year, because it's a project I've started the last 1 year, and this year I've already negotiating with the Nigerian Institute of Physics. They will have their conference in September, and the Nigerian Institute of Mathematical Physics, they will have their conference in November 2019 on how to have a pre-workshop conference on teaching the teacher. Here, those who are teachers at this conference, we have 2 or 3 days pre-workshop conference on how to teach them on how to use the handset, that is smartphone, QPython. I did a training like that before with the Nigeria Association of Mathematical Physics, but I used Python. That was at 2 years ago. So this year now, when we had it, we had issues of having enough space, then. But with this one now, I think we won't have that kind of issue. All they have to come, they come with their smartphones, and as I said, smartphone with about $20, you can have an Android version that is compatible with the QPython, and that is the beauty of what we are doing. Thank you very much. Okay.
Do you have any kind of relationship with the QPython?
No, though I'm on their Facebook, but I've not been able to reach them. But I know their opportunity to ask questions, but I know I'm going to reach them. I'm still having the feeling that if they did, usually at PyCon conference, we meet a lot of people. So I will look for them. Yes. Yes, Jeff.
To follow up on that question, because I'm a big-time free software person, so I don't run Android, I run Lineage OS and Ubuntu on my phone. And so when I tried to install QPython free on here, it crashed.
Yes.
So that was like a showstopper for me after you told me about QPython and I tried it out. So I'm wondering if we could reach out to the QPython community and see more about fixing problems like that.
Yes, they have QPython 3.6. The QPython 3.2, QPython 3.4, they are all working, but they don't have the usual indentation, default indentation. So the educational QPython, that is the 3.6, that one is having issue. And of course, the developers, they've come out to say that they have a lot of bugs which they are trying to fix. But the one QPython 7.15 is working perfectly well. Yes.
So I have a question. I am from Nigeria.
Oh. Yes.
My question is, coming from, so I was done in high school, roughly 2015. I was struggling because I wanted to study computer science in Nigeria. So the question is, how are you influencing universities in Nigeria to approach or to teach students Python? Because I know you do some things in Delta, and like University of Port River State University of Port
Science and technology.
So I did a project with them 23 years ago about a boot camp using on code, and I saw like a lot of students in computer science don't really know any idea what programming is, which is surprising. So coming from somebody that wants to study computer science, maybe in Nigeria, or what do you think you as a professor can do to influence programming technology, programming universities in Nigeria?
Okay. We have the National Mathematical Center, Abuja. I hope you are aware of it. And around 2008, I started a conference there. We call it the International Seminar on Theoretical Physics and National Development. The aim was to honor one of our very senior professors. He's a professor emeritus who taught in many universities in the US here before going back to Nigeria, and he has produced a lot of people. So when he was 70 years, then I was in Germany. I was at Max Planck Institute of Physics of Complex Systems, where I was doing my postdoc. So I decided to organize a conference for him. After the first one, the second one, then in 2010, I added a foundation postgraduate course to it, and that postgraduate course was on Python. So I have been teaching Python as a part of that seminar, which we have been holding annually since 2008. And many of when I say teaching the teacher, the National Mathematical Center was actually meant for teaching the teachers. And I have been teaching Python there. And I think each year people come back. Do you know how people come back? They will say, look, I met somebody who said he learned Python and is now using Python for his work. Especially the Matplotlib. They use it in plotting their graph and all kinds of things. And it's quite beautiful. So since 2010, I've been teaching Python at the National Mathematical Center, and I think it has been an overwhelming result.
So one last question. So one of the reasons I'll be skeptical about studying computer science in Nigeria is, so both of us, we all know that they still teach things like Pascal, Fortran, like way programming language way back in like the last 30 years. I have a very good relationship with some of the universities in the market, and they have been struggling because coming from the workforce, like Andela tech companies in Lagos, right? It's very, very difficult to sort of employ university graduates studying computer science. So the thing is, how do you think that you can suggest or sort of influence the Nigerian government in terms of the educational side to sort of change the curriculum which they are currently using and try to bring things like Python as like introduction of computer science using Python?
You see, what I said is teaching the teacher. That is the first place we have to start from. Because as you said, yes, many of them, the program they know is what they will stick to. So we tell you they are used to Fortran and all that, and they will stick to it. But from our past program, we've seen that when you teach them, many of them, they go back and pass the message around that this programming language is good. And the beauty of it is that they download the whole stuff. I always teach them how to download the whole stuff, and without paying and all that. And this is it. And as you have said, I have the opportunity of firing a number of people. Like when I attended this conference in 2012, I attended with one of my students, okay? And the good thing here is that when you see brilliant ones like that, you let them have access to the computer. They can do wonderful things. The young man came here, and he got here late, and because of the kind of training I have given to him, they gave him an assignment when he was there, and he was the first person to submit. And that was the first day in the class. So the professor said, wow. So look, how can this young man coming from Africa be the first to submit, and he got it correct? And so this young man has gone on to obtain his master's and his PhD at Chapman University. So this is the kind of thing. Then let me just make sure this again. Even within my university now, I just got an approval from my vice chancellor to organize a workshop on this QPython. As you know, it's not easy driving these things there, but because anything that has to do with spending money, they will avoid it. This is the problem. But the beauty of QPython, why I am so excited about it, you don't need to spend a kobo. The handset belongs to the person. My own is to show them what to do, that there is power in that handset. You can use that handset to do your programming, to learn your programming anywhere, anyhow, anytime. Thank you.